Tonight, President Biden saying this, and this is the first time that he has said this publicly, quote, "If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running, but we cannot let him win." It comes as Trump is making his second visit to Iowa in less than a week. Here he is in Davenport, Iowa. And the real question here is whether the voters are still with him, or are they giving the other candidates a second look ahead of voting, which begins now in just weeks. Jeff Zeleny reports from Iowa for our series, Voters Out Front.
Sally Hoffman has been thinking and praying about the Republican presidential race.
I pray for the direction this country's going, and I pray for the candidates.
As candidates have descended on Iowa, Hoffman has watched with an open mind. When we first met earlier this year, she had high praise for Donald Trump and curiosity for two of his rivals.
I like what Trump has done. To me, it's huge for it to have three U.S. Supreme Court justices during his term, and that I'm a big pro-life proponent. I like what Nikki Haley's doing. I like DeSantis too. So kind of in that range.
Now, as Republican hopefuls scramble for support 6 weeks before the Iowa caucuses open the 2024 campaign, Hoffman is among those looking for a fresh start.
I'm thankful for what Trump did when he was in office, but I've been a little bit disappointed in Trump lately. I'm just veering away from him and leaning towards DeSantis. He seems like a man who, when he believes something, he'll stand by it. And that's what I appreciate about him.
As fall turns to winter in Iowa, it's a season of choosing.
Are you guys Iowa or Illinois residents?
Iowa.
Perfect. Have you already filled out one of our Commit to Caucus cards?
And a critical moment for Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley to show that the Republican primary is still a contest, not a coronation.
I'm very impressed with Nikki Haley, and I just hope she gets the nomination.
Roger Dvorak voted for Trump, but believes his criminal cases are a distraction.
Whether he's guilty or not, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I just don't think he can be effective as leader of the country.
There's little doubt Trump remains a driving force in the campaign.
We're going to win the Iowa caucuses.
He's in Iowa again tonight, the second time in 4 days, to try and maintain his dominance. Yet exhaustion with the former president, once whispered, easily comes alive in conversations with Republicans, like Karen Hanna, who also voted for Trump, but is now weighing an alternative. What is it that gives you pause about President Trump?
I think all that's going on, and I think Ron DeSantis is a little bit more solid and less drama, just all the things that Trump's going through in the courts. So unsure about that, but no, I like Ron DeSantis, what he stands for.
The question is how many Iowans are inclined to go against the grain of the Trump-controlled GOP as they make their final decisions.
I'm looking at Nikki Haley and, of course, DeSantis and Vivek and Trump.
Ann Walford's laughter underscores the expressions of many Republicans, a reluctance to be with Trump now, but a pledge to be with him in the end.
If he's the nominee, I will vote for him.
That sentiment resonates on the Hoffman farm outside Cedar Rapids, where Sally said she too will support Trump if he's the party's choice. But for now, he's not her choice, and she hopes Iowa can spark a new direction for the country.
I think it's more of a wide open race.
It's more of a wide open race.
Right. I think it won't surprise me if Trump gets in. It won't surprise me if he isn't the nominee. And I'm just hoping that DeSantis might be the one. But I think it's more wide open.
So the former president is in Iowa tonight, and Aaron, he just responded to those comments that President Biden made earlier this evening, saying he wouldn't be running if Trump wasn't in the race. Trump, we are told, said, "I doubt that," and he said, "They don't want me to be running." But Aaron, the interesting thing is Trump's still in Iowa. He really is trying to hold on to his lead there, but there are many voters who have many open minds, and our days of conversations there, but they are turning their attention here to Alabama because that is where the Republican presidential debate is tomorrow night. So all of Trump's rivals coming here, of course, the voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, other early voting states watching this debate very carefully. Aaron.
That's right. And of course, he's not there. All right. Thank you very much, Jeff Zeleny. Harry Enton's here to go beyond the numbers. So, Harry, Trump right now in terms of the polls that we've got, right? You got a more than 20-point lead.
Yeah.
Gigantic.
Huge.
Okay, over, as some might say, without an H, over the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, over the South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, you know, both of whom, right, have had momentum. They're the closest for second in Iowa. So how many candidates have come back from that sort of a deficit to actually succeed?
Only two at this point since 1980. George H.W. Bush in 1980, Dick Gephardt in 1988, and of course we've had a ton of caucuses, a dozen or so on the Democratic and Republican side. So at this particular point, look, there's a chance that either DeSantis or Haley could come back, but it is a long shot based upon history.
Right, and of course there is this whole thing that right now the thing that might cause that to happen is something we don't know, right? It's a
unknown.
Right, it's the black swan event. Okay, so how important is winning Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, look, on the Republican side, there have only been two nominees who actually won Iowa, Bob Dole in 96, George W. Bush in 2000. On the Democratic side, there have actually been a slew. Most recently, of course, Hillary Clinton in 2016. It's more predictive on the Democratic side than the Republican side. But of course, the fact is, we're looking at a Republican caucus in this particular case.
All right, so if DeSantis comes from behind and wins, and obviously if the polls don't change dramatically, that would also cause a real shaking of confidence in what some of the predictive numbers are in states that are further out.
Sure.
But how much of an uphill climb would he have in some of those earlier states where, frankly, he has struggled?
He's definitely struggled. In New Hampshire, he's, in fourth place. He's at, only about 10% of the vote. In South Carolina, he's in third place behind Nikki Haley in both those states, behind Chris Christie in the state of New Hampshire. The fact is, given the history of Iowa, winning there I don't think is enough for Ron DeSantis. The fact is, looking at the data, Nikki Haley, if she outperforms in Iowa, is in much better position in the states going forward than DeSantis is to challenge Trump ultimately for the nomination.
All right, Harry, thank you very much.
Thank you.